Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, a man dressed in a tattered jacket, his eyes wild with fear. "You're in grave danger," he warned, glancing around nervously. "They know you're onto them. They've been watching you." "What do you know about Project Elysium?" Sarah demanded. "They've perfected mind control," he said urgently. "It's all about control, keeping the public in the dark while they manipulate events behind the scenes. I was part of the original project. I can help you expose it, but we need to move fast." Just then, headlights swept across the quarry, illuminating the area. The sound of engines roared in the distance, and the man's expression turned to terror. "They're here," he shouted. "You have to go. Now." With no time to lose, Sarah and Daniel sprinted back to their car, adrenaline propelling them forward. As they sped away, they could see a convoy of dark vehicles pulling into the quarry, their lights cutting through the night like searchlights. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Sarah knew they had to get their evidence out before it was too late. They returned to town and prepared a live stream broadcast, compiling everything they had gathered: documents, testimonies, and the chilling story of Project Elysium. They set up in a secluded location, away from prying eyes. On the night of the broadcast, the tension in the air was palpable. They went live, revealing the truth about the government's secret experiments, the missing townspeople, and the connections to the unexplained phenomena occurring throughout Maplewood. As they shared their findings, they could feel the weight of the world on their shoulders. But just as they reached a critical point in their story, the screen flickered, and a message appeared: "This transmission is unauthorized. Cease broadcasting immediately." Fear surged through Sarah, but she pressed on. "We won't be silenced. The truth must come out." Suddenly, the lights in their makeshift studio flickered and went out. Panic erupted as they scrambled to secure the evidence they had worked so hard to compile. Just then, the door burst open, and shadowy figures stormed in. In a desperate bid for escape, Sarah and Daniel grabbed their laptops and dashed out a back exit. They raced through the dark streets, hearts pounding, the weight of their mission driving them onward. The sounds of pursuit echoed behind them, but they managed to slip into the woods, their breath visible in the frigid air. As they navigated the dense underbrush, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were being hunted. They ducked behind trees, trying to catch their breath, but the fear of capture only fueled their determination to expose the truth. They reached a clearing and stopped, panting heavily. "What now?" Daniel asked, glancing over his shoulder. "Now we go public," Sarah replied, her voice steady. "We find a way to get this out to a wider audience, even if it means risking everything." With renewed resolve, they set off toward the nearest town, determined to find a way to share their evidence. They needed to reach a larger platform where their story could be heard, somewhere beyond the reach of Maplewood's shadowy powers. As dawn broke, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, they arrived in the neighboring town of Crestview. They knew of a small, independent radio station that often aired local news and community stories. With adrenaline coursing through their veins, they hurried to the station, their laptops clutched tightly under their arms. The station manager, an older woman named Claire, was skeptical at first. "You're saying there's a secret government operation in Maplewood? Missing people? Mind control? It sounds like a conspiracy theory," she said, crossing her arms. "Please, you have to listen," Sarah implored, pulling up the documents and videos on her laptop. "We have evidence, testimonies, everything we've uncovered. We're in danger, and so are the people in our town. This isn't just a story, it's real." Claire's expression softened as she glanced at the files. She quickly scanned through the material, her eyes widening as she grasped the gravity of their findings. "Okay, let's do this," she said, her voice steadying. "I'll help you get the word out." Within hours, they were live on air, broadcasting their harrowing tale to Crestview and beyond. As Sarah recounted the events, sharing evidence of Project Elysium and the mysterious disappearances, she could feel a shift in the atmosphere. Listeners began calling in, sharing their own strange experiences, confirming the whispers that had circulated in Maplewood for years. But just as they thought they had gained momentum, the station's power flickered. The lights dimmed, and static filled the airwaves. Claire hurried to the control panel, trying to restore the broadcast. "We can't let them cut us off," she shouted. Sarah and Daniel exchanged worried glances. It was clear they were being targeted. "We need to get to a secure location," Daniel urged. "If they can track us here, we won't be safe for long." With a heavy heart, Claire agreed, quickly packing up their materials. They decided to head to an old cabin in the woods that Sarah's grandmother had owned, a place that felt distant from the chaos of the outside world. It was secluded and hidden, giving them time to regroup. As they drove, the tension hung thick in the air. Sarah couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, and her instincts proved right when she noticed a dark SUV trailing them from a distance. "They're following us," she whispered, her pulse quickening. "Just drive normally," Daniel said, trying to keep calm. "We'll lose them in the woods." They took a series of sharp turns, eventually veering off the main road and onto a narrow dirt path that led deeper into the forest. The SUV remained on their tail, but as they entered the thick cover of trees, they pressed on, determined to reach the cabin before it was too late. Finally, they arrived at the cabin, its rustic charm offering a brief sense of comfort amid the chaos. They barricaded the door and settled in, their minds racing with plans for how to proceed. They had to secure the evidence and ensure it could be broadcast to a wider audience without interference. "We need to find a way to send this out without being traced," Claire said, her brow furrowed in thought. "If we can get it to a journalist or a larger station, it could go viral." As they began brainstorming, Sarah suddenly recalled a former classmate who worked for a regional news outlet. Sam was always interested in the unusual. "If we can reach him, he might be able to help us." While Claire and Daniel prepared a package of their findings, Sarah used a borrowed phone to contact Sam. After what felt like an eternity, he answered. "Sarah? Is everything okay? You sound frantic." "Sam, it's urgent. We have evidence of a government cover-up in Maplewood, people are missing, and it's tied to this secret project. Can you meet us?" She gave him the location, hoping he would understand the seriousness of the situation. To be continued. Look for Shadows of Truth Part 3.